Hello, welcome to Weekly Shonen Jump. This is Fonzie.
And this is Hero.
And this is for Shonen Jump, March 11th, 2013. Yep. It is St. Patrick's Day. I'm a little drunk. And so is, Hero here, but he's not used to being drunk. This is his first time. And unfortunately, the first chapter has to be Nisekoi, so please be patient with his drunken banter.
Well, I'm not actually going to be drunk. I'm only going to be drunk in the parts when the drunkenness gets in.
He does it so well, everybody. Give him a round of applause for making it seem like he's not intoxicated. It's really hard for him.
Okay, so anyway, it's New Year's Day. It's the day after the last chapter, and there's someone at the door. Who could it be? It's the Hokage again. And the girls are still in their kimonos because they felt like it. And so the whole thing was planned, and he didn't even know about it, by his gain, I guess. And so they all go in, and his and Ichijo's pervy friend's like, "Oh, you're so lucky, man."
Still the best character out of the entire series.
Yeah, and here's what he says: "You lucky dog, Raku." Yeah, lucky dog, homie.
Stop doing that.
Oh, what a way to start the year! A whole gang of hotties right at your door. And to be honest, he's kind of right. He's got nothing to complain here.
So put up or shut up.
And one of the girls is drooling at him, which is I forget her name, but it's the sick chick. And for those who are listening to this podcast, feel free to follow along with us because we're actually looking at the manga while we're doing this. And then he
sing along time.
Yay! And then Ichijo turns to Oradina, his real crush, and she's getting all blushy, and he's getting all blushy. Oh, going. And so they get inside, and there are some chocolates for them. Little does he know, it's not actually chocolate.
Actually, it is chocolate, but it's laced with a little bit of goodness.
Yeah, it's whiskey chocolate.
How appropriate, whiskey.
Oh, those wacky yakuzas.
You mean the Irish?
And no, they're yakuzas in this chapter.
But they're drinking Irish.
And so Chitoge just suddenly gets close to Ichijo and goes, "Hey, sugar pumpkin, have you ever kissed a girl?"
There will be translation at the end of this podcast.
Would you like to kiss me? And she gives this stupid ass face. She's like, "Duh."
I envy the death right now.
And that's when he figures out, it's a whiskey chocolate. And she's going "Yeah, tell me you like me."
I'd rather have Jim Beam right now.
and so things start to get crazy, and the perfect friend is like, "Hey, it's okay." It's like, "You jerk."
Aww, and then karate chop straight to the forehead.
And one of the other girls who was also drunk just totally annihilates him with one swoop.
Then starts bending his legs backwards. This is an awesome New Year's so far.
Hey, Michael, give up yet? Stay, Uncle.
Drunk chicks and violence. All we need is bad video games.
Stay, Uncle, or I'll bust your glasses. and then I might forget her name, but it's the bodyguard of Chitoge. She gets drunk, but it's not well put out. And she is so drunk, she actually makes out with a doll.
It looks like a tanuki, a literal tanuki.
It's kind of funny how she doesn't know. And then there's this scene where Oradina just is loosening her kimono, almost showing her boobs.
But we forgot about Miyamoto, completely bagging on Japan.
And she's all like, "Ichijo, can you do this for me?"
I really hope drunk chicks don't actually sound like that.
But it'll be funny. Ichijo, you really have amazing skin.
Yeah, they sound way too manly already.
and then he tries to get the hell out. Hey, do you like me? More of the drunken crazy, and then they all surround him like zombies, and it was all a dream, or was it? I don't know what they did,
but I don't think we want to actually know. Seriously, they are all in silence.
And by the end, and by the end of this chapter, Uchitoge says nothing happened today, right, everybody? Yeah. I think they raped him.
Well, anyway, speaking of, drunk and disorderly, we have a bunch of drunken drawings at this point with Ichiro Oda's One Piece. Adventuring the land of toys, passion.
The land of toys, passion, and love.
Yep, with a place that usually is off of, Spanish heritage or a bit of Latino heritage. We actually finally get to Dressrosa, where Luffy is excited to go on his adventure and tries to use Momosuke, as in his dragon form, to fly off to Dressrosa. However, Momosuke does not want to fly due to the fact of his past experience with Caesar, knowing that the fact that he did not want to fly or become a dragon in the first place, but was forced to. However, of course, his father tries to coax Luffy off of beating up on Momosuke for not deciding to fly. But of course, Momosuke, in his awesome attitude, decides to go back into another woman's chest for protection, and is then yelled at by the three previous perverts. However, of course, they finally set off until Trafigler gives Nami another Vivre card in order to show the location of where his crew is, in case things go south. And of course, they break up into three different groups, leaving Usopp, Trafigler, Robin, and Caesar to be the Caesar delivery team. I don't know why he counts. And then there's the Thousand Sunny Guard team by Momosuke, Nami, Brook, and Chopper.
Yeah, cause...
However, of course, the group for the factory smashing job is left to Luffy, Zoro, Frankie, Kaimon, and Sanji. Why in the world they would trust them with that kind of job when knowing who they are? And of course, they even give a little introduction about Dressrosa being a very lovely country, including very lovely scenery, food, and women. And of course, toys.
And there's a panel where a dog is ripped off a toy's arm.
And there's another doll who looks on screaming, and a...
Wait, what? I think I get it. They landed on the island of Misfit Toys.
Oh, but it's not even Christmas yet.
Darn it.
But of course it gives off that there are actually living toys on Dressrosa, to the surprise of everyone around us. At this point, I actually did not see this one coming. Ichiro Oda, you once again shocked the world.
Yeah, I think at this point, he's a little... Yeah, I think he was a little bit on his high horse.
Aliens are next. I swear to God, my bet is aliens. But of course, they actually decide to break in for some food first and decide to go in disguise.
Dress as Jewish rabbis.
Yep, Jewish rabbis. That's what we're going with. They're only doing this to keep their appearance away because all of them were in the newspaper and don't want any publicity, especially on enemy turf. But of course, they get the food and they're all extravagant by it, and it being delivered by a musical monkey. Yeah,
Monkey.
I'm not questioning. Why should you? Of course, later on in the scene, they find that a blind man is actually playing roulette with a bunch of thugs. This sounds already so bad. But of course, he keeps landing on white, which actually they tell him that he keeps landing on the opposite color. And of course, Luffy decides to intervene by telling him
while eating noodles at the same time. Did your mother teach you not to talk with your mouth full?
Yes, but then again, Luffy's getting himself involved with another bunch of thugs who seem to also fear Buffalo for some reason. However, they decide to try and fight off against him, but it seems that the blind man, who seemed to have been playing them, is actually a swordsman of sorts, but has used some sort of technique in order to create a giant hole of gravity that literally breaks the floor down and sends all the thugs flying downwards. And it seems that he has quite the prolific saying that says, "Not having sight is a blessing. The world of men is full of filthy things not worth laying eyes upon."
And there's a panel where he's drawn very realistically.
Hey, he can be. At first, I actually mistaked him for Kizaru, who was actually a very well drawn character as well. Well, we know the history of that character to begin with. But we end there and then go straight to Naruto.
And this is more flashback between Madara and the first Hokage as being friends, whereas they train each other and spar each other on chair. And
it's my thing.
Not anymore. And so they just keep talking about you know we must get stronger. We must prove to everybody that that kids shouldn't be allowed to fight while they're training. I don't know.
Wow, said very well. They don't want to fight anymore because they don't know why they're fighting anymore.
And yet they train to fight. It's kind of strange.
It's adult logic. We don't understand it because it was made in their time.
And we all see Madara piss in the river.
Was that scene really necessary? Piss in the river?
I don't know. I might think he was trying to piss off the EPA.
Oh, just die. Just go somewhere and die. But anyways, they consistently talk to each other and train about how to gain other ninjutsu techniques, but of course they eventually start rock climbing again. Yeah, seriously, these are the most sporadic kids ever.
Yeah, and they still talk about we want to get stronger because it's Naruto. That's what it's all about. Just getting stronger, getting stronger, getting stronger. It's about nothing else.
But of course they have flashbacks, and the theme of this particular scene is having to do with the fact that both of them want to fight to protect something dear to them. Well, Madara has his brother, and while Hiroshima still understands that when his brother died, he also wants to protect something dear. And of course, they banter on more about how they want to create a village that's made for the idea of getting stronger and actually having some pretty good ideas about how to actually create that world and enforce it.
And I have to say, this opened my eyes a little bit. Is that this village they're talking about? This is the origin of Konoha.
Yep, literally. The scene at which they're sitting upon where they were rock climbing from is actually where Konoha would be, and the cliff that they had climbed would be where the Hokage's faces would be planted.
And just for that was interesting. Just for that. And I guess they exchanged...
Yeah, nothing else in Naruto is interesting. Just that part. Read nothing else.
And I guess they exchange goodbyes and greetings with skipping rocks because deep
connections. You never had a personal connection.
and of course back at the first Hokage's home, he tells him a dark secret that Madara that he's been hanging out with is Uchiha.
What a shocker! It's not like we knew that he wasn't a ninja.
And so his father tells him that he has to kill him. Oh, what drama! And of course, he's supposed to meet him, and they do their little greeting with a skip rock, and they take a look at their rock and then scram.
That's because both the rocks actually have writing on them, one saying run and the other saying scram, because it's a trap for both of them.
And of course his father figures out that he did that, and the Uchihas and the
Senju.
Yeah, and the Senju are about to face off. And of course it says that there won't be a new Naruto next week. Oh, good.
Yeah, the same thing will happen also with One Piece. It will pretty much just be a Bleach chapter for most of the three main shonens. And of course the Dragon Ball Z one where Piccolo and Goku get their asses handed to them. And of course it's a funny scene because one of them literally loses an arm over this very fight.
High
five!
Thumb shake. Thumbs up.
Once again.
Good job.
Once again, Team 4 Star. Go on YouTube. register, and also subscribe.
And now with World Trigger, this I forgot to read, so I guess I'll have to.
Oh well, then Fonzie to the rescue, then. And of course, this is picking up from when two of the neighbors decided to crash into the school, where now Yuma has decided to use Osamu's trigger, which actually creates a cool-looking black border suit along with a hooked blade instead of a usual straight sword. Of course, the battle ensues, and later on, Yuma is fighting for his life without seeming too worried about it, like he's already had hardened battle experience. The only problem is that Yuma doesn't understand what the trigger is. It's because that the trigger is a training tool. So I'm guessing that there are like levels of weapons, like there are training tools, and then there are the actual war use tools. However, Yuma seems to do quite well with it, utilizing the hook blade, and even managed to kill the first one with an explosion. Nothing satisfies you better than having your enemy explode when you finish them off.
Porn it!
Thanks, Michael Bay. And of course, the second neighbor decides to show up, but then Yuma uses his shield in order to block the lasers that the neighbor uses, and actually once again stabs through it and explodes. Seriously, most satisfying kill ever. And of course, he reverts back to it, and even Osamu is quite interested in how in the world he was able to beat two neighbors with just a mere training trigger. However, he decides to get some exposition from somebody named Replica, which seems to be a type of robot that came with Yuma that seems to explain what a trigger is used for. And it seems to be used to amplify the power of this invisible organ that's called a trion, that is found more in neighbors than there are humans. Humans have small ones but can easily adapt them, while neighbors are built in with them at a much greater level. In short, it's basically like it's MP in games. It's your magic points.
Yeah, and it's also like chakra in in Naruto.
Yeah, so at least they explained this kind of power early on instead of dragging it out through some.
I've also noticed that like in every show, it always has to involve like some sort of power source.
Well, you need to at least explain where it's coming from, or else then it's
why not magic? I mean, with Fairy Tail, they don't really need any of that. It's just magic. I don't have to explain it.
Yeah, well, then that's just the thing. Everybody is already well versed in magic because it doesn't really have a solid point. It's just magic, as well as other powers. They want to at least give some sort of explanation. Like spiritual power, chakra, or this new stuff, Trion. However, back to the story is that they're both coming out of the building, and all the school students are praising the fact that both the neighbors have been defeated, and knowing that Osamu is actually part of Border. Because and even the bullies take notice of this, and I'm betting shit's gonna hit the floor if they don't get their memories erased from it.
And then more Border agents coming.
Yep, and hopefully this story will get going on. But right now we have the goings-on of One Punch Man. And just to clarify this record, this guy's art style is actually quite impressive. For aside from the main character, Saitama, everything else is very well detailed. Especially this battle with Genos. Genos and this mechanized creature called the Iron Gorilla.
Yeah, there's gonna be a theme coming in. And there's the Beast King Lion and some sort of mole, which
Ground Dragon.
It looks nothing like a dragon.
Does it matter?
Okay, every time I think of Ground Dragon, I might keep thinking of like the exact same thing with Dragon Ball GT.
Yeah, moles, dragons, same thing.
Yeah, because they're totally the same. They're totally both reptilian.
I'm sure Noah decided when he thought dragon, oh, there's one. Yeah, let's not go and find the other one on the arc. No, let's just take this. But the battle ensues where Saitama was pulled down by the ground dragon and is being faced down by the Beast King Lion, while Genos fights off the giant iron gorilla.
And when it came to the Beast King, it pretty much went down as you expect with just one punch.
Well, actually, not this time. Saitama continuously looks at him with the most blank expression in the universe, and constantly pisses him off.
He's like, I'll pierce both of your eyes. You can't resist. He just gets out. He's like,
Yep. And in his fashion, the lion seems to finally go in the shonen direction by naming his attacks, but completely missing everything, and then goes on full beast mode and uses the meteor power shower.
because
Rhyming. It's not for just Dr. Seuss anymore. But of course, Tama evades all these and decides to use a particularly gory move called the consecutive normal punches. And knowing that it takes one punch to defeat most of these things, yeah, he just grounded this Beast King into meat.
yeah, and the ground dragon, he's like, fuck, and just.
And of course, the best scene ever with Rape Face. I'm not kidding. This thing looks like one of those drama faces that you just don't want to look at, but know that if you look back at it, it follows you everywhere. Rape.
It almost looks like a troll face. It's just creepy. Punch.
And one punch finishes off the ground dragon.
Hey, we just came up with this new attack name, Troll Punch.
And of course, it seems like Gino says, "Wow, this guy doesn't hold back either." But then again, the gorilla is a cyborg, has blown off all 4 of his limbs, and reveals that he does in fact have a gorilla face, but mentions that he's
part of this organization called the House of Evolution.
But of course says that he's not done yet, seeing as how that
he is like the second strongest, and the lion one is the most powerful. And Saitama was like, "Oh, you mean him?" You know, he just cut his eyeball.
Yeah, well, Genos is very well drawn, and Saitama, yeah, that thing.
Yeah, just draw very cartoons, and the gorilla's like,
fuck. There's a whole lot of oh shit faces in here just with normal like expressions.
But with the gorilla, it just looks legit. It's like you could just read his mind just by looking at him.
I might be screwed here. And in fact, he actually starts talking. But now we finally get on to Bleach.
Okay. I even took a chance to read this one, and I actually enjoyed this chapter about his dad, which
Wait. Audience, I want you to hear that again. You said that you enjoyed this Bleach chapter?
Yes, and it's the only Bleach chapter I'll enjoy. The only one.
History has been made, ladies and gentlemen. It has been made. Anyways, the chapter starts off with, of course, Renji talking to the Zero Division leader, who tells him that Ichigo still doesn't understand of who he is, that no matter what kind of training that he went through, he would not be able to succeed in rebuilding the Zanpakuto. And the reason for that is because all the Zanpakuto that Oetsu had ever made were actually all made towards Soul Reapers. He knows all of this, even Kenpachi's, when we now know the fact that Kenpachi actually stole the Zanpakuto. However, he lets us know that not even Ichigo knows about his own soul. So this actually probably begs the question, is Zangetsu really Ichigo's sword? And of course we go back to some flashback like most animes are doing right now.
And yes, we pretty much have a flashback of what Ichigo's dad was doing when he was a Soul Reaper, and he was actually paired up with Matsumoto, with short hair, and she actually looks cute. She actually looks cute with it.
But she still has tits like Mount Kilimanjaro.
And of course, and I guess he always plays games with her, like these little hide and seek games.
That's because he doesn't want to work. Perfect persona for his dad, Isun Shiba, which is actually.
And she goes on a rant about how he's so lazy and stupid. Grabs her arm and says, "Your boobs are glistening. I like it."
Great. But
and you can actually see her boobs glisten.
Great. That's for your fan service there. Aside from this story, a little bit of backtracking. His name is Isun Shiba, which is actually a name used by former characters, both by Ginjo Shiba and by his sister. This was actually due to this is actually quite interesting because both characters also play a role in society of whether they're the branch family or not. So, not sure if they're going to be prevalent in the next few chapters, but it does bring up the fact that they might be coming back.
And this also brings in the origin of the pair of Matsumoto and Toshiro.
Yeah, but Toshiro's a third seat, and she's an assistant captain. He gets captain quick. And of course, because Isun likes the fact that all his work gets done by Toshiro, he has no problem making him captain whatsoever. But of course, Toshiro explains to him about a missing person sheet, and of course makes it aware that this has happened again within recent days. So Isun decides to go on his own, tells people to do his work for him again. However, Toshiro tells Matsumoto and the others not to follow him because Isun wants to take on this task alone because he's the only one who can.
And I'm willing to bet this is probably where he's going to meet Michigo's mom.
Oh no, really?
No.
And of course, we get a small flashback to the trio of assholery-ish, which is
Aizen,
which is Tosen, Gin, and of course Sosuke Aizen, where they plan to also where they plan to make their grand entrance again. Now ending from that, this section of Toriko, I gotta say, is probably gonna be one of my favorites. Why? Because this pair-up is quite interesting. As we went back from before, we were in the middle between a battle between Tommy Rod and Sunny. And that's what the translation says for at least this one. So we'll call him Sunny. Right in the middle of the battle, he was facing on a bunch of insects, and of course decides to use his super special ability, which allows him to cover an entire area full of his pressure pounding. However, Tommy finds this interesting and decides to use a different tactic by using a type of bug called Sticky Beast Bug.
Just the imagery of him spitting out, it made me sick.
Well, he's supposed to be disgusting. That's why it's an interesting one. A disgusting enemy versus a person who finds any grotesque action whatsoever deplorable. Of course, Sunny decides to use some of his moves alone in order to evade this tactic of actually destroying his hair. He uses one called Hair Tornado, which creates air pressure around the area.
Hands up and go.
Yeah, that was a facepalm, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you did not see that, which you cannot. And, of course, sends all the bugs flying and uses a new ability that allows him to harden his hair to steel-like pressure and even skewers all the bugs around him.
Okay. His hair makes Goku Super Saiyan 3 hair wet their pants.
Yep, you won't find any hair better than this. Donald Trump can use some pointers. However, seems to be a creature capable of destroying Sunny's hair, and that would be the Parasite Lord that Tommy Rod had unleashed previously.
No, his beautiful hair!
Well, it goes into a little bit of exposition that tells that when Sunny gets his hair cut, it's more painful than any experience ever. It's like getting a tooth pulled.
Yeah, it's like getting all your tooth pulled at once.
But, of course, he has a different reason for feeling pain, and that is due to the fact that he doesn't like the idea that he has to have bad memories. This makes actually Sunny a lot more of a complete character, if you will. It shows that he does have a more human personality and hates the fact that he even has to let people down. Especially seeing as how back in his childhood he had unfortunately broken a piece that belonged to Ryu, and didn't want to actually make him disappointed.
But Ryu really cut himself from that.
But Ryu knows better than that, and tells him that objects will eventually break one day, even if they have precious memories to them. However, Sunny realizes that the memories that he'll have of this battle with Tommy Rod will actually never fade and cause him the world's most amount of pain. Which, of course, he decides to go completely badass on Tommy Rod by unleashing a power that he has never once used before, and this would be his Satan hair. And of course, the Parasite Lord tries to cut this hair, but is unable to. That is because of one unfortunate problem. He has aligned his hair with the energy of appetite, which actually consumes things. So he has now lined his hair like tree roots that allow him to absorb materials. And he goes straight through the parasite lord with no problem at all, winding its hair around the helpless insect and eventually devours it whole. In this awesome epic scene where Sunny is literally going full power on Tommy Rod, Tommy Rod realizes that he can't hold back anymore and releases the pressure plates from his arms so that he could finally go out one-on-one with him. And that was it for the weekly Shonen Jump review. But we still have one fairy chapter to go after. And that would be Fairy Tales.
Oh and boy, this chapter. Oh boy.
As we left off before, the Fairy Tale team had just won the Tenryobito, which is the Great Magical Tournament.
Fairy Tale.
And of course, we get a very new one show. Very new. What is that? What is that? What am I looking at?
Yeah, apparently it was like fan art of like Lucy having a daughter with Natsu.
Nice.
And so yeah, they win the tournament. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's happy.
And Lecter and Sting are reunited.
Aww.
Everything's so happy and good. Eventually, we see all the characters acknowledging Fairy Tale's victory, and of course, Rogue and Rios. That's gonna take some getting used to. So if I do call him by the name Rogue, sorry. But of course, he decides to fight for his friends now, and of course, makes Fro happy.
So even the team acknowledges of their victory, and Urza asks, has anyone seen the signal flare? Which I don't know what she's talking about.
It's to make sure that that the success of getting Lucy out of the prison cell when she was captured was to go off when they finally had her. The problem is that they're still having problems with not only the execution wolves, but the castle guards as well.
And so now they're all starting to get worried about Lucy and Natsu as they're still fighting the guards and the
execution wolves.
Yeah, in the execution wolves, which is non-stop.
Yeah, I thought these guys were pretty easy to defeat before, but now it's showing that they're still pretty annoying when it comes to their powers.
Even Natsu was like really getting annoyed by them.
I'll execute you all. Shut up.
There's a funny panel where Natsu is like pulling on this guy's face. It's pretty funny.
And of course
a shadow suddenly devours them.
Yeah, through the floor, leaving most of the royal guard taken out.
Well, that was easy.
No, but they didn't do anything, and of course it swallows everything whole except for the companions and the execution wolves. Well, most of them. But then we head back.
Joel gets this strange and uneasy feeling that something is wrong.
He gets the fact that there may have been two people who have entered through the same means as through Zeref's power. Lucy, of course, the future Lucy, came through the Eclipse Gate. But of course, he asks, what if there was a third person? And of course, this would due to the fact that the future Lucy knew nothing about the Eclipse Cannon Project 2. But of course, Arikados finally confronts the princess and tells her not to go through with the plan.
And the plan was to get rid. And the plan was to stop Lord Zeref.
Well, this cannon seems to be used now to take on the dragons, which they were still debating whether it was true or not.
Which I think I found an art flaw. Okay, are Kate supposed to have this really long, Usopp nose, but his armor mask is like pushing his nose in. That's kind of an art flaw.
Ouch. This armor is really badass looking. I must take the pain. Art flaw. Help.
If I just take the pain, it'll make me look more badass.
And I'm definitely badass. My Jafar beard has never looked better.
And so And so he comes to discover under the princess was not really scheming anything, and and suggests to the princess to execute him for his ignorance. But the princess refuses not to.
And of course, face front with Orikatos. Sorry, this guy's kind of a badass to me because, he seemed like the evil villain at first, but now all of a sudden, he's now actually the noble knight. And of course, now we come to a very, very critical point in which the princess was told about the Eclipse Cannon project and the dragons.
Supposedly by future Lucy.
But she was told by
a man about the eclipse. Dum dum dum. So who is this third person? Well,
we're actually about to find that out. From the depths of the cave and through the shadow, it seems that there appears a figure before them. One that has met the crew before and has literally come back to this nostalgic place, knowing of Natsu's origin and also everybody else in the room. This person looks very different and unnoticeable by anybody until you get a clear picture of him
to the very last page, a full page panel where the mysterious person says, "I came from the future. I am Rogue."
Holy shit! Now, I have my theory on this, but I am not going to spoil on this episode completely. But I will tell you this. In this fairy tale chapter, I do have a good idea of what this might include, but I will unveil that in a video that I will make in the future during next week. This will be a video also contrasting of what Doflamingo's power might be. This is just for a future video on the channel. So, of course, spoiler warnings to anybody who does not want to have the power of Doflamingo revealed or the origins of this new future rogue revealed either.
Now, this based on his face.
No spoiler warnings.
This is just a theory. But what's the name of that guy? Who was possessed by Rogue?
You mean? Wait, who was possessed by Rogue? Rios?
Yeah, Rios. Didn't he have the same markings on his eye?
Well, the fact is that we didn't actually see any markings on his eye because all his hair was in bangs.
Oh, yeah. So I guess whenever Rogue possesses someone, they get that marking on their eye.
Theory denied. Anyways, that is it for this week's Shonen Jump. And of course, as I said before, there will not be a One Piece or Naruto chapter next week. So this has been Fonzie.
And this is Hero.
And we're signing off.